Back in the locker room, Tunch and Wolf brought to you by Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and joining us for college football from the Pittsburgh Sports Report, Tony DeFazio. If you want information on what's going on with the local colleges and you want it before anybody else gets it, you got to read Tony DeFazio. Tony, thanks for joining us.
Always happy to be here, guys.
But while we have you, 2 weeks ago on this very show, I said, all right, Tony, WVU, Pitt, Penn State, which team has the best season? And you went out on a limb and you said?
I said Penn State.
Penn State. I'm looking last week. Sports Illustrated comes out, college football preview, AP, WVU's ranked.
Putting you in a corner here.
Yeah, I know.
You know what? Because he's always right. I want to
get a little dig here.
That's right. I want
to see the venom, man.
I want to know. What do you make of? Everybody's on the West Virginia bandwagon.
Yeah. This is the hard-hitting journalism.
This is harder hitting than a Craig Wolfley headbutt. That's right.
Okay.
The old coconut.
He didn't lose all that hair for nothing.
For nothing, right? Okay. You know what? I think that Penn State is the best team of the three. Mm-hmm. West Virginia may be set up schedule-wise to have the best season. I think Penn State's just got a tougher schedule. They've given Wisconsin, Ohio State, Michigan, all three very good football teams. But I think Penn State's the best team, and I think defense is the reason. I just think that defense for West Virginia is going to give up a lot of points. They gave up a lot last year. You can throw on them. You certainly could last year, and they're not looking too different defensively than they were a year ago. For them, for everything to come together for them on offense, listen, I think they're going to have a great offense. But I just think that defense is going to give up a heck of a lot of points, and Penn State's is not. I mean, Tom Bradley, to me, one of the best defensive coordinators in football. The proof is there.
He could make a fine head coach someday, huh? Someday, I think Tom Bradley makes a fine head coach.
Break the story, Wolf. Break the story.
Yeah, no, we'll leave it right there.
Are you standing about your quote?
Yeah.
Standing by your quote,
yeah. What quote was that?
All right, but before we get into West Virginia and Penn State, let's start with Pitt. I just heard Jeff Long interviewed on the radio with Joe Bendel. And Jeff Long, athletic director of Pitt, is very, very excited. Started talking about Pitt football. He's not your typical AD guy, but he really, he's a huge Pitt fan. And he's excited about the quarterback. He's excited about Stahl. He's excited about that offensive line. He thinks it's getting better. Okay, how much of it is that emotional, I love my team, and or how much of that offense are you comfortable with?
Well, those are the questions, the offensive line and the quarterback, on offense. Those really are the questions. It looks like they finally have some depth and some talent at the running back spot. Even with Derek Kinder going down with an ACL injury.
That's a bummer.
It's very, very difficult.
A huge bummer.
Wolf started crying.
If you're Bill Stoll, what'd you do? They go,
no doubt. An experienced guy. He was the only guy who's really been through the trenches and done it before.
Wolf cried.
But, well, hey, that's
I'm an emotional guy.
Sometimes that happens. They have talent at receiver to back him up, though. They honestly do. I think it's going to be more devastating for Kinder to try to get back into that lineup next year after some of these guys get a year under their belt. So he's going to have his hands full, I think, getting back into that lineup. But Bill Stahl, it's his third year with the program, and let's face it, guys. Tyler Palko was a very good quarterback. They were 6-6 and 5-6 the last two seasons, so they were 11-12 under Palko the last 2 years. If Bill Stahl knows the offense, which he does, if Bill Stahl knows his strengths and weaknesses, which he does, and knows what the coaches want from him, he knows all those three things, he can execute this offense. I think the coaches are very comfortable. His teammates love him. I mean, he's a guy who his teammates have really rallied around.
Yeah.
They're already talking about him as our quarterback, and they were saying that back when there still was a quarterback, controversy, or at least when the position was open.
Right.
That's what his offensive linemen were calling him, our quarterback. I think that's a good sign. The offensive line has not been a cohesive unit in the spring so far this year. Mike McGlynn has been banged up. He's one of their 5 best. Once he gets back, that should change things for the offensive line.
Has he not gotten back in the lineup at all yet?
They're bringing him back so slowly. It's kind of, he was participating in some non-contact drills. Then they allowed him to participate in pass blocking drills with full contact, but he's not been cleared to participate in run block drills with full contact yet. So Dave Wannstedt did not rule him out for the opener next week, but he also said it's possible he might not be back yet. So he'll be back. They're trying to be as cautious as they can.
Is LaShawn McCoy a difference maker?
I think he's a special player.
Yeah.
I really do. 2 Saturdays ago, Pitt had their scrimmage. They had a lot of alumni back. Johnny Majors is standing on the sidelines with a lot of the old timers, watching. Majors the whole day is saying, "Hey, what's up with this kid from Harrisburg? What's his name? When's he going to play? Who is he?" First time he touched the ball, Majors turned around and said, "That was him, wasn't it? That was him." Very electric runner. his balance is unbelievable. He can outrun people, and he can also go between the tackles. So I think he's a very, very special guy, the kind of guy that defenses are going to have to worry about. Pitt hasn't had a running back like that in a long time.
What when you watch, now you've obviously watched him. Who does he remind you of? What is it about him that makes him?
Who's the Hindu? Right?
Who's the Hindu? That's right.
Theory.
Who's the Hindu guy? Hindu's got the draftniks always use that. They remind you of a certain player that's already in the NFL.
I'm going to go way back here for Pitt fans and say Kervin Richards. If anybody remembers
I'm sorry, you lost
Richards.
us both. Yeah.
Kervin didn't play long in the NFL.
You don't remember. Who was Kerwin Richards?
It wasn't Kerwin. It's Kervin.
Who was he?
Swervin.
Who was
Swervin
he?
Kervin.
Where was he?
He was a running back.
What year?
I can't
What
remember.
year?
How am I supposed
Don't
to
lie.
remember?
You don't know who he was.
I remember because I
There's no
remember
way
that.
you know who
hey,
he was.
I remember the
What
fact
year?
they called
what
him
decade?
Kervin.
What decade?
That was
You
like
guys were busy playing in the NFL.
That's
how far back we're going.
How far?
You guys were busy playing in the NFL.
60s,
That's how far back.
60s, right?
He was running back in the late 80s.
I knew
80s, that's right.
I knew you didn't know that.
It was a 6. It was
All right,
upside
go
down.
back.
I
Let him
forgot
speak. Go ahead.
What are you talking about? You sit here and you never mind. My goodness.
I'm not going to compare him to the guy everybody wants you to compare him to, and that's Tony Dorsey.
I know, everybody.
That's not fair.
But what body type, I mean?
He's and again, he's about a 5'10", 210-pound guy. I mean, Willie Parker might be a good comparison body type-wise. Again, don't want to compare him to a guy who's running for 1,500 yards in the NFL. This kid hasn't played a game yet, but his balance is fantastic. He runs a 4.4, and he's just got those instincts. He doesn't take a hit. He's one of those guys who puts his head down, but you never get that real clean shot on him. So he's able to stay. That hopefully will keep him durable as well. I'm talking about his durability, and now I'm going to talk about the injury he sustained when he was in high school.
Right.
But he 2 years ago tore the ACL, came back from that, played at prep school last year, and I really think he's a special player, and I think that he's going to I'm not sure Pitt fans realize, or some of the Pittsburgh media maybe even realizes how good this kid can be and how electric he's going to be to watch.
Now, what about Steven Howling?
He's the starter. This kid, yeah.
I mean, is he feeling any pressure at all?
I don't think so. McCoy's had a real good attitude. In fact, he called Howling, he referred to him as a father-type figure. They're a year apart.
In college?
They're a year apart, guys. But talk about knowing the cliches and knowing what to say to the media. McCoy does. He talked about how, hey, listen, he's the starter. I know my role.
Yeah, he's 19. I'm 17. He's like a father to me. Sorry.
But he's saying all the right things. But, again, I just think as the season goes on, McCoy's the kind of guy that can touch the ball 20, 25 times. And I think Steven Howling's the kind of guy you want to use as a utility back. Touch the ball 12 times, maybe throw him some screens, maybe even get him more involved in the kick return game if you have somebody else that can carry the load like I think McCoy can.
So he's kind of like the cable guy at backs, right?
Yeah.
Utility
Good
man.
point by you.
Now, I got to ask. I got to ask. Okay.
Yeah.
Is he the real McCoy? Oh, I just couldn't resist. I couldn't resist it.
Killing me.
I had to ask you.
Well, you know what?
Think?
How about this? Let's place bets on when that headline's going to be in the paper this year.
Hey, well, you
won't be
came
too long.
up with it first.
Yeah, they can plagiarize my mind.
That's right. Plagiarism, and greatness can't be coached, as Wolf loves to tell us. Let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. Wolf and I were talking to Sam Clancy yesterday, and although Sam's helping out, Greg Gattuso, of course, is coaching up the defensive line. Or no, he's coaching the tight end.
He's coaching defensive line.
He
moved up.
Greg's coaching up the defensive line.
Sam's coaching the pass rush because we all know Gattuso never mounted one pass rush in his whole career.
Ooh, that's right. But anyway,
Gattuso, I love you.
Gattuso coaching up the defensive line, but Sam's working. And Sam was telling us that he's got some guys that can really get. Well, he's
got a lot of guys. First of all, he's got a bunch.
That's right. He either said we got some really good pass rushers, or maybe
the offensive line.
We're
just hoping the O-line is great, and these guys are absolutely fabulous pass rushers.
Now, I don't think the O-line's great. I'll start there. But they have more depth and probably more talent than they've had on the defensive line in quite some time. You mentioned Gattuso. He and Dave Wanstead have been very open about, hey, we have some good players on the line right now. In the last 2 years, they weren't saying that. So, let's take them at their word. And they think they have guys that can give the linebackers room to run. Let's put it that way, because that hasn't been the case in the past. And they have a bunch of small linebackers. They're going to need some space to run around to make plays. And they think these guys can do it. They're going to rotate players. They said yesterday they think they have 5 defensive tackles and 4 defensive ends that can legitimately play.
We're going to take a break.
Not to mention, there's just 2 seniors, right?
And just 2 seniors in that whole bunch. That's a great point.
We will take a break. We're going to talk more college football, a little Penn State, a little WVU, maybe a little bit more Pitt when we come back in the light. Oh my gosh! Let's give them. Let's take a pause for reflection on Wolf's great point. We'll be back right here in the locker room.